Grant, how did you find Carnivore?
Well, like most of your viewers, it's a bit of a sort of a long story. I've been in the health and fitness world my whole life, and I was a triathlete for about 35 years. And throughout that whole period of time, I sort of did a lot of low carb dieting. I did a lot of experiment with my diets because obviously triathletes are very experimental people. They they'll kind of do anything to get a little faster. So they'll try this, try this, try this. And so I sort of did it low carb for quite a long time. And then I went into the ketogenic world in 2015, 16, lost some weight, felt better, all that good kind of stuff. And then another 3 or 4 years rolled by to 2020 when I turned 60 and I was just getting close to retirement. I actually ended up with a double bypass heart surgery in 2020. And I had some chest pains, and that chest pain went on for a little while. And we did, with my general practitioner, we did some different investigation. I thought it was lungs for a while, for the 2 or 3 months, and sort of checked, and progressively felt worse and had a little bit more pain. So eventually, it just went to emerge. They did the classic CT angiogram, found a couple of blockages. One was 100%, one was 70, and said, "Okay, we need to do." They couldn't stent me because of the angles of the arteries and stuff like that, so they had to do open heart, so which they did. I ended up retiring early then anyway because when COVID hit, um, it shut down all the facilities, and I was a coach. I was coaching runners, triathletes, and people in the health and fitness, and none of the fitness facilities were open. They had just all shut down for like a year. I tried restarting a little bit after my operation, about 6 months after, and then we got shut down again. So I just decided, my wife and I were in the position to say, okay, let's retire. And so during COVID, then I had a lot of time on my hands, and so started watching more and more YouTube videos, and of course I knew about ketogenic dieting, and it was a big benefit to me. And I was sort of low carb, but I'd never taken the sort of bold step to go carnivore. And that's where I first learned about carnivore. Saw a video by Sean Baker, and then of course Ken Berry, and then Anthony Chafee, and then you were there. And there's a whole bunch of obviously influencers now in the space. And so I started watching a lot of these videos, and then I watched a lot of videos by some cardiologists and doctors as well regarding heart health, and got me thinking a lot. So then I slowly, by about the fall of 21, transitioned back into, so right after my operation, I sort of ate low carb, but mostly as healthy as I could for about a year, year and a half while I was recovering, while we were getting sort of the meds reduced and that kind of thing, and building back some of my exercise and my training because I exercise quite religiously. And so by the fall of 21, so about a year and a half after my heart operation, I said, you know, why not? I'm going to go toward carnivore and into it. So I took about 3, 4, 5 months from about November till about April, May of 21, 22, transitioning into carnivore. And I had a kind of a hard time transitioning my energy usage from sugar to fat. Uh, just had energy crashes a little bit here, there, but I stuck with it and I kept going. And then started to see benefit after benefit after benefit. And so about 5 or 6 months into 2022, I started a little list, just a quick list on my phone of all of the things I started to experience in terms of health benefits. And in no particular order, I just wrote them down randomly one day, started writing them down. And then I said, okay, I'll keep writing them down as I go down this journey. And so you could say I've been a carnivore for 22, 23, 24, 25 now. So almost 4 years. It'll be 4 years. I don't really have a carnivore versary, like a date I went pure strict, but I would say I would be mostly carnivore by early 22. So early 26 will be 4 years. So I'm almost 4 years into it and have experienced what I would call significant health improvements, like to the point where I don't really need to see a doctor at all. I mean, why would I go to a doctor unless I'm sick or something really bad? A lot of things really improved. And I will just read the list quickly and touch on it because a lot of people may have similar health improvements that they would resonate with. They sort of fall into categories. I find that people in the in the low carb carnivore space experience benefits, skin benefits, they experience gut benefits, they experience neurological benefits, and they experience metabolic benefits. And the metabolic ones would be diabetes, heart disease, obesity, all of the metabolic diseases of society, right? So those four major areas, and autoimmune would be another one. So those are sort of the areas that people see benefits in, and I've seen little benefits in most of those. So let me go down the list. So starting with number one, in no particular order, I used to have some foot pain. That's gone. Used to have plantar fasciitis for years, decades actually, and that is basically gone. Occasionally, if I do a 20-kilometer walk, I'll get some foot pain. But I mean, anybody would. My arthritis joint pain, I play the piano. I had some thumb pain, fingers in the fingers, aches. Um, that's gone away. And any little swelling, that's just gone. And if I do eat carbs for a week or two and I go off the wagon a bit, I'll notice a little stiffness come back. The minute I'm carnivore again for 2, 3 days, that's gone. My rosacea is basically cleared up. I have a little red tinge to my sort of skin color now, but it used to be really bad. I used to have a lot of acne related to that and lots of red face. That's gone. I have blepharitis. That's a little inflammation around the eye line. That's gone. Dry eye has much improved. Hasn't quite gone. I need a little bit of drops at night, but and I used to get styes quite, I wouldn't say frequently, maybe a couple times a year, once or twice a year through my 20s, 30s, 40s. Haven't had a sty in 5 years, so I guess you could say that's gone. Exercise recovery is much improved. There's no question. I'm much less sore, much less stiff. I mean, sure, if I do a hard workout or a hard eccentric workout with weights or something like that, I'll still get some soreness. There's no question. But it's 80% better because I used to be quite sore quite a lot. And so my overall inflammation in my body's lower. I find that keeping my muscle mass, um, I retain it more. I'm 66 years old now. Probably not building a lot of new muscle mass because I'm fairly strong enough, but I find I retain it. I don't lose it as fast. I did lose the final 15 pounds of body fat I had my whole life, my entire life. I was always around 150 pounds, low 50s or so. And when I competed in triathlons in my 20s, 30s, 40s, and early 50s, I would really work at my diet to try and get myself into the 140s. And I haven't moved from 137. So I came down. And my percentage fat is between 9 and 10% body fat at 137 pounds. And I'm shocked that I feel full all the time and I eat till I'm full. And I have this mindset that I should be putting on weight, but I don't. It has stayed rough
Wow.
for 4 years. Like, and
Sorry,
I'll,
just to
yeah,
interrupt, can I ask how tall are you?
I'm 5'6". 5'6", 137 pounds, about 10% fat, if you want to look at the basic facts. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm at my ideal weight. My waistline's 30, and but it doesn't change. It can even like overeat for 2, 3 days, and it doesn't move the needle at all. So it's because I believe, of course, I'm not stimulating insulin, so I'm not storing fat, right? So if you're not stimulating insulin that much, then you're fine. So I'm satiated all the time. My stomach's flat. I don't get any bloating. Um, no stomach pains at all. Energy is pretty even now all day long. Mood is level. Oral health is another thing that, there's lots of carnivores talk about they don't need to brush their teeth. I still brush my teeth, but you really don't get the plaque buildup. It just doesn't happen at all. Floss every day and your teeth are smooth because there's no enzymes in your mouth breaking down sugars because you're not eating sugars. So anyway, my oral health is better. Um, Acne, skin softer. Oh, that's another thing. I don't have dry skin. I used to have, dry skin. Every now and softer. Skin's much better. The sun, no question. I can go out now. I don't need to use sunscreen unless I'm going out for 2 hours or more. If I'm going on a long bike ride or I'm out in the sun for all morning or something like that, then maybe I'll put a little bit of sunscreen on my neck or something because it's exposed all day. But No sunburns. No, you get maybe a little red that night. The next morning, nothing. Whereas in days past, I'd burn in 15 minutes, or you'd have days of peeling skin. Well, I haven't had any peeling skin from sun at all in years. You tan deeper, you get darker when you tan too. And my wife has noticed that as well. She used to have more of a paler skin that would go red, and her skin now it's brown. It's great. I find cuticles, no hangnails. My mental clarity's better. I don't need to nap. When I eat carbs, I'll need to nap in the middle of the afternoon. Uh, I don't need to nap now. My energy is really good. I, in fact, went today. I was helping my son paint. My son and his wife, they've just bought or leased a space to open up a bookstore. And so we're painting the place. So I painted from 10 today till 4, and now I've jumped on this call. So that was no problem. I'm a little tired, but and we'll go paint 6 hours tomorrow. So, you have the energy, right? My HDLs went up to 1.71. That's Canadian values. I think that's 66 in milligrams per deciliter. My trigs went way down, which you usually see. Mine's 0.62 in Canadian value, which is 55 milligrams per deciliter in American values. I don't know what your audience is. Is it American? There's the two values that are used around the world. It's crazy. My LDL went up a little bit. My hemoglobin A1C is down into the sort of normal range. Um, I used to have a little pain on urination and I'd have to, but that's gone away. My PSA, which doctors, for guys, it was creeping into the twos. It's now down to 1.8, 1.9 the last two times I checked. I get up less at night to pee once, maybe twice. Blood pressure has gone down slightly. Mine was always normal, but it was like 120 over 80. It's now 115 over 75 or 70. Slipped down a little bit. Of course, after you have heart surgery, they put you on blood pressure meds. So I got rid of those. And this year I did hire Dr. Cyrus and Dr. Ovadia. And I'm sure if you know those guys. But I hired them from Canada. I hired them in the States for some consultations. And they had me do some testing. And the upshot of the testing was that I was down in Vegas actually. I happened to be down in the United States in April. I went down to watch the Eagles live at the Sphere, and I took my son down. So we went and saw the concert, which, by the way, you got to that Sphere is incredible. Um, and while I was there, I got a CT angiogram done. Because you can just pay for them down there. So then we looked at the results, and Dr. Vadia said, "Look, your two arteries that have been replaced are what they call patent, which means they're clear, and the other two are showing small blockages, which they did before. Before they said it was 40%, they said 30% on this test, but you can't really compare test to test because there are different testing methodologies from Canada to the States. So I can't compare the 40% I had 5 years ago here to the 30% that they did back in April. I'd like to say it's lower. I'd like to believe it's lower. But the two arteries that they replaced, obviously with the bypass, they're fine, they're patent, they're clear. And Dr. Vadia, so we had a long discussion, both Dr. Cyrus and Dr. Vadia, on both those consultations, a long discussion about medications. And their upside was basically statins really aren't doing you anything. And so I've reduced and gone off my statin medication, went off my ezetimibe. So the only thing I'm on now is a baby aspirin as a post-heart patient. So I'm just on aspirin and some supplements. There's a sort of battery of supplements that you can take that are good for heart health, like nattokinase, niacin. I take magnesium. There's some supplements I take, but they're just supplements, right? To make sure that I'm getting some good stuff for my heart. So anyway, that was the upshot. I did that this year. So I'm going to get another CT angiogram done probably every 3 years or so, just so I can track and see if the tracking is fine. Other than that, I've I have no need to see anybody. I have no pain. I feel great. So, a couple other things that have changed. My beard's darker. My mustaches. These used to be completely white, 100% white. Now it's got a little. You can kind of see a little salt and pepper in there, but it used to be white. So that's good. Eyesight has improved. So in my middle range, when I'm looking at the screen now, anything between about a foot and about 6 feet is clear, crystal clear. And so that's improved a little bit. And these glasses are 8 years old. So, and they're still perfectly fine. So, other than the fact they're scratched and you can hardly, but the eye correction on them is perfectly fine. So, um, eyesight's not getting, they tell you go every year, right? Your eyesight's going to get worse every year. Well, no, my eyesight's fine. Hair's all shiny, skin. I used to have my back used to itch a fair bit because I swim a lot, but I don't anymore. So my skin is much more moist. Um, Early on in my heart recovery, for about 2 years, I had some pounding heart and some evening anxiety. But when I switched to Carnivore, which was about 18 months after, that went away right away. That just went away. So that's an interesting thing that changed. Um, Calluses are much less. Calluses on my feet are much less. I don't sweat as much. And I don't know what that is, but I just don't. And weird as this is as well, is I don't smell. I can wear a t-shirt for 5 days and it's dry because I hardly sweat anymore. And I go to smell it and I go, well, there's really no smell. It's like, I don't know what that is. My gut, my uneducated evaluation of that is I'm eating cleaner. You're eating steaks, you're eating clean fats, you're eating, Greek yogurt, you're eating, I eat eggs a lot, I eat bacon a lot, I eat some chicken. I'm 95% carnivore. I have a little bit of dark chocolate. That's probably my big treat. Occasionally I'll have a mandarin orange or two. Occasionally in my Greek yogurt, there's a little bit of cherries. That's my carbs, literally, when I'm on track. My wife and I did do a cruise about a month ago to Alaska. And on a cruise, it's pretty hard to stay 100% on track. So I had some desserts, had some alcohol, had a little bit of beer here and there, had some desserts. Noticed the rosacea coming back a bit, noticed the hands getting a little creaky. Within about 3, 4 days of coming home, back having basically, I have coffee with cream in the morning. Midday, I have bacon and eggs, or I'll have leftover steak, scrambled eggs, a little bit of cheese, sea salt. So that's usually the midday meal for me. If I don't feel like cooking eggs, I'll just eat some cold bacon that's cooked, pre-cooked cold bacon, or I'll eat some leftover meats that are hanging around. With some Greek yogurt. I'd like a little bit of Greek yogurt or high fat Greek yogurt. And then dinner is typically a ribeye, 6 days a week, 5 to 6 days a week. Or we might go out, and if we go someplace, I'll order some chicken or order some salmon. The nice thing about the Alaskan cruise was I had salmon every day because they cook salmon much better than I do. So I did that. So I've had a fair, and now the other thing is this year, I last year in 24, I did one open water lake swim. So I'm back into swimming as sort of competing. And then this year I entered in two of them. And in the first one, I won my age group, and which is good for me. Actually, I was quite happy about that. I ended up third overall at a small field. There was only 24 in the 3 kilometer event. It had a 1.5K, a 3K, and a 4.5K in the event we did, and I did the three. And there were 24 people in that event. There were like 60 or 70 in the 1.5. But I ended up third overall out of the 24 people, which for me is an improvement in performance. And I found that my training and my racing is rock solid. It feels really good. And in the other race, I came second in my age group. So I had got a couple medals this year swimming. And so I'm really happy with that. So the training is the response, my body's response to the training is better. And I believe it's because there's less inflammation. You're just less sore, you're less tired, you have good energy. And so you can train easier. It's easier to train and you have less downside after you race or you train. So you're able to do more physical activity. And the other thing that I've added to my life in the last 4 years, which is speaks to I'm a kinesiologist, I have my master's degree in kines, and I coached people for 40 years in health and fitness. And now I'm a senior. And so instead of being more focused on, I swim, I do a little bit of competitive swimming, but I'm more focused on being mobile. So I do a lot of strength and flexibility work together. And over the last 4 years, I've become much more mobile. I can do things I couldn't do my entire life. And now at 66, I can do full squats, sit in a squatting position can hang for a couple minutes. I can do a lot of different things. And so my training has changed because it's more training to age well as opposed to training for some kind of an event. Because my whole life I was doing triathlons. Now I'm doing a bit of swimming, but my main focus is mobility training or movement training. So I've been doing a lot more of that. So,
So, congratulations on all these results. One thing that I wanted to ask you was, having been so active all through your life, when you had the issues with your heart, was that kind of a surprise to you? Were you kind of like questioning, how come this is happening to me? Like I'm so active, exercising all the time, and now I'm getting a bypass.
um, that's a really good quote. Well, first of all, there is a genetic component. How much a genetic component there is, that's the debatable thing. Because all my cardio, because my mom died of a heart attack at 80. So, okay. And my mom and dad both had high blood pressure. They both fought their weight. They both had metabolic syndrome or metabolic disease, if you want to call it that. And generally, that moves down the generations. So you could think, okay, does the exercise and lifestyle, does it trump genetics? Don't know. Don't know how much of a factor the genetics played as a role. My cardiologists certainly say that. They're a little bit more on a traditionally trained doctor, allopathic doctor will kind of default more to that now and say, it's just genetics, nothing you can do, all that. But they'll also send you away and tell you it doesn't matter what you eat. And you and I know it's a huge difference what you eat. So I think there's a lot more to environment, what you do in terms of habits, than there is the genetic component. So maybe that had something to do with it for me. The other thing that I've sort of thought about or mused about myself is that I've always had a sweet tooth my whole life. And early on in I guess from my time I was 10, 12, or young days up to maybe mid 30s or early 30s, maybe a couple decades there. So from 10 to 20 to 30, those years, I ate anything in sight. So, and I ate a lot of sweets, and I ate a lot of junk food, and I ate a lot of processed food. I mean, I grew up in my young days. I grew up in the '60s, and my mom loved the Jetson era, and she bought the Velveeta cheese, and she bought the white bread, and she bought she made instant mashed potatoes, and it was the '60s, and that's what people were doing, and sugar and on everything, right? And margarine, you know, margarine came out '60s, '70s, right? And so my parents didn't sort of know any better. They just followed what everybody else was doing, and that's what was coming out, and that's what they were saying to eat: low fat, eat this processed fats that we make now, margarine, and and I ate all that stuff, and so maybe I did the damage early, and then sort of rode that through till I was 60. I mean, some of the cardiologists said I should be dead at 40 versus 60. You made it to 60. So maybe my health and fitness prolonged the end part of the curve. So the curve went real fast, and then I had this slow burn till I felt pain at 60. And so that's one of the things I've mused about a little bit. And even through my middle life, 30s, 40s, and 50s, I wasn't that strict. I mean, I was low carb, but I wasn't super strict. So I did eat my fair share of junk food or sweets or whatever, even though I kept my weight fairly under control and I kept my fitness level pretty good. But I don't think that's good enough. I don't think that that's enough. And I think that's why a lot of people experience a real significant change in their health when they make that step from keto to carnivore. When you finally eliminate all of the bad stuff that you're eating, you finally get rid of that, and you take that final step, then you get a stepwise change in your health. Because even a little bit of the bad stuff going into the system continues to keep the system broken. Get rid of that, and then, so I've sort of mused about that, going, maybe that has been my path to this point. Now that I'm 95 to 100% strict with my carnivore diet, I'm hoping that then will carry me 30, 40 more years. So, and I certainly wouldn't. People ask me every now and then, oh, when are you going to fall off the diet? When are you going to, And I do have treats here and there, very small, but there's no way I'm going changing. I mean, I feel too good. My health is too good. Why would you ever go eat a bunch of poison again and feel crappy and have to go back to the doctor and have to start the whole problem all over again? I mean, it just doesn't make any logical sense to me whatsoever.
Yeah, I always kind of think like, why would I do it to myself? Because
Yeah.
it's so simple now. Like everything's so straightforward. Even if I wasn't enjoying the food, I don't want to go back to having much more time preparing, worrying about should I go out and buy some more snacks, um, and feeling bad after I've eaten them.
Yeah, I mean, literally, if you've got some cooked bacon on hand, you can have your lunch in 10 minutes. Some bacon, maybe have a piece of cheese with that, maybe, one little thing of Greek yogurt, you're done. Your coffee in the morning, and then to cook a steak in the evening is what, 10 minutes, 15 minutes on the grill? And you eat it. You're done. Clean up, you're done. And you don't have to go to the grocery store with a list this long and spend 2 hours searching all the aisles to find all the spices and all the vegetables and all the fruits and put it all together. And then when you get home, you put it all in the fridge and you try to put the meals together, and a week goes by and you throw out 30% of it, because you waste food. We don't waste any food on this diet. So it's simple, it's easy, there's no bandwidth taken up in your brain. Your body gets used to it. I mean, you never have indigestion or stomach problems because your body's always eating the same healthy food all the time. It's fine. It's happy. It's a happy camper. So you're
Right.
right. You're absolutely right.
So, so did your wife just start the same time as you, or did it take a little bit of convincing to get her to move over?
It wasn't a real mental change, and she is more of a, I guess, a ketogenic omnivore a little bit more. She likes her avocados, and she likes having a few other vegetables here and there, and so she'll mix a little bit of that in. Um, but she'll still eat very similar to me, because now in our retirement I'm basically doing the cooking, and so she gets a break from the cooking, the cleaning. So I'll cook what I'm cooking, and she'll come along and she'll maybe add half an avocado to it, or she might have a few vegetables, or some days she'll just eat the steak. So I'm fine with the steak, and she's just fine. And no meds. She's on no meds. She moves. She's an ex-dancer, so she moves. She has mobility like no joint pain, feels great, 70, almost 72, and feels like she's 30, 40, and can do anything. I mean, she lifts weights, she walks, she does her mobility training, and she eats pretty close to what I eat. So, I mean, that's sort of, I see, that's sort of normal aging, but most people are stuck or kind of trapped in a body that they've sort of uh, abused for 10, 20, 30, 40 years, whatever it is. And now it's broken down in so many different ways that life is not fun because you hurt and you don't feel good and you have to go to the doctor twice a month, and the list goes on, right? Whereas, yeah, no, we're both pretty much 100% healthy.
So, because you and your wife are doing so well, um, and you've still got the same energy you had 20, 30, 40 years ago. Do you not get questions from people about like is this something I could do? Like, rather than the questions like, when are you gonna stop doing that diet? When are you gonna start eating normally?
We do, and I find now that you kind of have to wait for your opportunity for when people are interested. Because when they're not interested, you just can't push a snowball up a hill. It just doesn't work. And I'm sure we've all experienced that who are carnivores that, we want to change the world and everybody should eat this way. And I don't, not so sure everybody should eat this way. Should everybody eat real food? Should everybody eat, um, good samplings of protein every day, with good healthy fat every day, with a good sampling of micronutrients every day? Yes. But you could probably design a very metabolically healthy diet and not have to be strict carnivore. You could probably, like Dr. Ovadia in his book, he has a vegetarian version and a vegan version of a metabolically healthy diet, and you can do it that way. So everybody has their own kind of version. And I find dieting and eating is a lot like politics. People have their ingrained beliefs that, a vegetable is good. It doesn't matter what vegetable it is, you got to eat your veggies and you got to eat your fruits. And so it's an uphill conversation unless people show some, real interest. And then you kind of sneak it, you throw a few comments in, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And yes, there's been a good dozen or so people that I've chatted with over the last 4 years, and a number of them that have converted and they're pretty much carnivores, and they're doing very well. So yes, there are people that will follow that, but I do find it's kind of like politics. It's a bit of a hard sell from the mainstream thought process or the mainstream kind of brain.
Yeah,
So
I think you're right about it. It's similar to politics. It's like, when we were growing up, everything wasn't tribal, but these days everything's got to be tribal, right?
yeah, that's a good way to put it. That's a good
Yeah.
way to, and everybody's an expert on what they eat, right? So you can't argue with that. And the other big thing that's connected to food is taste. And people like things they like, right? They like their potato, whatever it is. They like their ice cream. They like their whatever it is. And you can change your taste buds. It takes a bit of time and work, and you can change it. I now love a ribeye as much as I used to love a brownie, right? They're both dark colored. They're both about this thick, but one has nothing but sugar in it, and the other has nothing but 1,000 good nutrients for you. So you got a brownie and a steak. And I by now like the ribeye probably more than I like the brownie. So
Yeah, actually, it's good comparing it like that because if you knew nothing else and you kind of said, well, here's two 1 inch thick brown things.
yeah,
One of them is poison,
yeah,
one of them is not. The
yeah,
one with poison is really sweet tasting. Which one would you like? Most people would, knowing nothing else, and I don't know if you were an alien that had come
yeah,
to the Earth, you
yeah.
go, "I'll have the non-poison one, thanks." Right? But everyone's busy justifying the poison sweet one these days.
Or give a person a challenge to eat, this much brownie every day for 90 days. That's all you eat, brownies for 90 days, or eat this much ribeye for 90 days. And at the end of 90 days, what's your health going to be like in either scenario?
The brownie one sounds like that could be another documentary like Super Size Me.
Oh, can you imagine your health after 3 months of just eating brownies? Oh, your teeth would be falling out of your brain, your skull. They'd be just falling out.
Yeah, yeah. You'd be carrying your teeth and your liver around in a handbag with you. It's
Yeah.
um so Grant, you've been at this almost 4 years. I mean, there's no going back now. Like, if you go to a doctor and a doctor's like, "Oh, this is gonna cause you more troubles. It's gonna be awful." I mean, that's probably a doctor you're not going back to, right?
No, and yeah, no. It's just there's too much upside and no almost no downside. There have been some downsides, a small. I mean, I had a little trouble switching over from sugar to fat in terms of my energy. So I had a little bit of, there was been a bit of that. But you know what? I'm starting to scratch my head now to think what downsides have there been? Uh, I guess some of the downside would be the sociological downsides when you go out to eat with people. And I don't say anything anymore. And what I'll do is I'll often order like a steak and I'll say, just skip the potato, just, and they'll bring it with some vegetables. And I might nibble on a few of the vegetables with some butter. Okay. Well, what am I eating? I'm eating 5 grams of carb or 10 grams of carb of some vegetables, but no one blinks an eye at that. No one blinks an eye. It's like, okay, no big deal. So that's generally what I will do when I'm out in social situations. Because a lot of people say, well, eating out's tough. But I find pretty much every restaurant you can find some protein. You can find some protein with some healthy fat in almost every restaurant. Even if you go to a Chinese place or Japanese place or Indonesian or whatever, you can find pretty good choices of protein in most restaurants, almost all restaurants, unless you go to a specific vegan restaurant. You can pretty much find good animal-based protein in most restaurants. And so yeah, that's generally what I do when I'm out. And when I have a drink, generally my drink of choice is, and I'm a Canadian. This isn't a plug for the United States, but I drink Michelob Ultra, which is a United States beer. And I drink it for two reasons. It's got 2 grams of carb, so it's low carb. It's also low alcohol, 4%. So it's as close to water as a beer can get. So just for the taste. And that's what I like to drink because, if you drink a lot of the beers are very heavy. It's like having bread in a bottle, right? So if I have one Michelob Ultra, I notice no change. Oh, that's the other thing I did this year, which was very interesting. Just a quick 1 minute on this. I actually got, Dr. Cyrus said, go get yourself a glucose monitor, a patch, and monitor your blood glucose level daily. And so I did. I got a patch, got my Freestyle Libra on my phone so you can see your blood sugar level all the time, right? Well, for me, it's pretty solid, pretty much around 6, 5.5, 6, 5, And at night, I have a few low events, eating my normal diet, right? So then my wife and I say, well, let's go over to this brewery and have a beer. So I went and had one beer, barely raised it, came back down, barely. Beer, for whatever reason. Okay, so let's try another experiment. Let's have a ribeye. So then Wendy goes out and she has fish and chips, and she orders one piece of fish and French fries, right? I said, well, I'll have half your fries. Shot up to 11.1. Whew, right from 6, just right up. And of course, it came down within an hour, right? But just right up. Big, and that wasn't even a full serving of the fries because I had half the fries of her fish and chips, one piece of fish and fries, right? So that was fries. So then another couple of days, my blood sugar is really low. So we did this for 2 weeks, right? We were out in Penticton at our summer place. Oh, let's have some ice cream. Oh, okay. So I go and get a cup full of, not a cone, not even a cone with, cones are kind of sugary. The waffle cones, they got a lot of sugar in them, right? I had a cup of ice cream. So I ordered my favorite ice cream, which is like a Rolo ice cream. So I ordered a Rolo. 15, shot up to 15, just whoosh through the roof from 5. And then woof, took down. And then the other part about that curve was right here when it's on its way down, I'm back at home wanting a nap because of the crash, right?
So, yeah, you can really feel it, right? It's,
I
like
felt that one. I didn't feel the beer and I didn't feel the fries. And they only went up to like 10 or 11, but they were mixed. The fries were mixed with a ribeye and the beer wasn't mixed though. It was separate. So we did beer, fries. So that I only did those 3 experiments when I was monitoring myself for a couple of weeks to get my baseline and all that kind of stuff. But it's a real eye opener. If anybody really wants to just for themselves understand how food affects them, do it for 2 weeks or 4 weeks and just every time you eat, just note how it affects you and see what foods keep your blood sugar level or low and see
I
what foods spike it.
I think it's a really good thing, because it also kind of is a counter to the argument that, "Oh, well, low or no carb works for you, but it wouldn't work for me," you know? It's okay, we'll go and test it.
Yeah, and test it with the foods you like, the foods that you would commonly eat, like, and then you can really know. See, I thought beer would have affected me a lot more, but ice cream was like four times the effect. And French fries were three times the effect, where beer was only one time. Sure, beer did raise my blood sugar, but it raised it a third of fries and a quarter of ice cream. So
Mm.
I just know now what food those particular foods. So I mean, Wendy's bugging me to slap it on again for 2 weeks because she has a whole bunch of experiments she wants me to do. She's like, "Oh, let's try this. Let's try this. Let's try this. I should try that brownie experiment."
Yeah. Um, so if someone came to you and said, "Okay, I'm willing to do this for 90 days and see what happens, and I'll even slap a glucose monitor on at the same time." Um, Based on the experience you've had, what advice or tips would you give them for getting started?
I think the first tip is to take it in some steps. I think steps is probably the best way because you're changing your whole eating, all of everything to do with your eating, which you probably do now 5 or 6 times a day, and you're snacking and you're eating this and you're eating that. I mean, to change everything all at once. There are people that are cold turkey, rip the band-aid off and go. But most people, I think, would probably do better if they just made some basic steps, just took some basic steps. And the first step I would say is just focus on getting some protein with healthy fat at your meals. That'll satiate you more. That'll set the stage for you then starting to eliminate the high carb foods. And then the second step, so the first step would be focus on protein and healthy fat with, and they usually come together. So make sure at every meal you have a little bit of your steak or eggs in the morning. Like there was actually a friend of ours who's kind of been listening to me. She's in her 70s. She's now switched from eating her toast in the morning and a few other things, carbohydrates, and having juice. She now has two eggs every morning. She gets them from a local farmer. She's lost 10 pounds, 15 pounds just by making a simple change, just getting away from sugar in the morning. So there's a good, and she's really happy about that, right? Because she can see the result of making a change in her eating. The second one I would suggest people do is literally throw out the what I would call the low-hanging fruit, and that's a bad thing to say, but the most poisonous foods, the food like the fast foods, the junk foods, the chips, the pretzels, the all the man-made stuff that's got a whole bunch of chemicals in it that we really don't know what kind of damage it's doing to us. So get those are the easy things to sort of get rid of, and like try to really reduce the bread category down. Try to get rid of because most of a lot of junk food is all bread based, corn based, packaged, manufactured, that kind of stuff. So try to go more to a whole food approach. So protein and fat first, then go to whole foods. And if you're eating whole foods, you're going to start eating more just vegetables and fruits and proteins. Pretty much. That's pretty much what you're going to get to. The third step would be go probably ketogenic. So really pay attention to the carb level. And maybe that's where the glucose monitor comes in because then you can really see the foods that affect your blood sugar and just eat foods that don't affect your blood sugar. It's very simple, and it's right there on your phone. It'll tell you everything you eat. Write down what you ate. What did the blood sugar? Was it up or down, or was it level? If it was level, good food. If it went up, pick something else. Yeah. So I would probably go through those three steps, and by the time you get to the end of that, you're pretty close to carnivore. They're pretty close. You're pretty ketogenic anyway, because if you're eating a diet that your blood sugar is stable and low all the time, you're fundamentally ketogenic. So,
Yeah, and by that stage, you're probably feeling 100 times better than when you started.
yes, yes. And then if you have some difficult metabolic issues, like your blood pressure just won't come down, or you really want to lose the weight and you can't get the last 20 off, or whatever it may be, then yes, take the step right into carnivore because it will almost 99% of the time cure up, metabolic diseases, neurological, a lot of neurological disorders, autoimmune issues, gut issues, skin issues. Those are sort of the main ones that it will just sort of problems that people sort of deal with their whole life, or like rosacea or acne or something like that, or gut issues. They're always got an upset stomach all the time or bloating all the time. If you go full carb, that just goes, or GERD, even something like GERD, right? It'll clear that up, gone. So
Nice. So Grant, if people want to get in contact, do you have any social media or any way of reaching out?
I don't, retired now, but you can share my email if they wanted to send me an email just for a question or two. I'd be happy to get back to them. So yeah, you just use my email. I think you have that on file. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
No problem. I'll put that in the show notes. Grant, thank you so much for coming back on and letting us know how things are going. I really appreciate your time.
Hey, thanks for having me back, and thank you for all of the 14, 15, whatever 100 interviews you've been doing, and many more to come.